Last time out, the GT1 contingent raced at Zolder in Belgium, and the championship race, it was a good getaway for Marc Basseng, but a poor start for Nissan as two of their cars were wiped out in a single incident. Jamie Campbell-Walter's car collected in a crash involving Ricardo Zonta, which also put out one of the Corvettes. Well, it was dramatic on those opening laps, and then Peter Dumbreck made a move that didn't come off, and that was the third Nissan out of the race within just a few laps of the championship race getting underway. For Sumo Power and JR Motorsports, as well as for Belgian racing, it had not been a good start to the race. Marc Basseng in the number 38 Lamborghini, though, was in great form. Out in front of the Corvette in second place, and the Thomas Enger Alex Muller Aston Martin. As it came to the pit stop, once again Hexis brought off an absolutely fantastic stop, bringing Christian Hohenadl's car out in front of several of the others, and it was all then a question of whether the Lamborghini would also have a quick stop. Well, the question was asked, the answer was it could make a good stop, and came out with a very comfortable advantage over everyone else. And so, Marc Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock took their first ever championship victory in the Al-Inkle Lamborghini, having won the qualifying race as well. To the line, we saw a brilliant battle for fourth between the Cox-Wendlinger Lamborghini and the Hazelmans Corvette, but there was no denying the sheer delight of a 25-point maximum score from that race for the Al-Inkle team. Enger and Muller were on the podium, so were Hohenadl and Piccini, but it was Lamborghini's day once again at Zolder in Belgium as the champagne sprayed. Round 3 of the FIA GT1 World Championship brings us to the fabulous circuit of Portimao on the Algarve in southern Portugal. Aston Martin's season has seen highs and several lows already this year. Young driver team has lost one of its cars in the first corner of both qualifying races, but their pace has been strong, and the Enger Muller car sits fourth in the Drivers' Championship. The Hexis team is even better placed, thanks to some brilliant pit stops and consistent driving. Rookie GT1 driver Christian Hohenadl has benefited from having experienced campaigner Andrea Piccini to guide his path.
We've done a little bit of testing in the winter, but the first race is always something else. So in Abu Dhabi, we took it really easy. It was the first race together, but I think after that in Zolder, it was already very competitive. In qualifying, we did exactly the same time, so it was right there on the pace. We won the first race as a team, second and sixth the second race, so I think we're doing well, and the atmosphere relaxed. That's important for the championship.
Corvette took pole position here in Portugal last year and earned 2 podium finishes. Mike Hazelmans didn't race here on that occasion, but he and Nicky Katzberg finished in the top 5 in both Zolder races, and another podium could be on the cards. Meanwhile, at DKR Engineering, Frenchman Michael Rossi has a new teammate in the shape of Matteo Bobbi, who raced a Maserati for Alfred Hager in the early part of last season before ending the year in a Ford GT.
At the moment, I just replaced Jaime Camar for the next 2 rounds, this and next weekend, and then I really don't know what happened. But anyway, it was a happy call because I'm very happy to be back on GT World, which is one of the best championships in the world. So it's my first time with the vet, but I'm sure everything's going to be okay.
Ford also has form here at Portimao, with a hard-fought second for the Martech car last year. At Belgian racing, Vanina X has been joined by former Aston racer Christopher Nygaard, while Matska and Leclerc share the other car. At Mark VDS, Jan Clare stands in for the absent Fred Makovicky, while alongside Bas Leinders is the driver who took pole position here last year, but who has suffered much misfortune in 2011, Mark Penerici.
I have good memories on last year, where I can gain my first pole in GT1 World Championship, and so I have really good memories. I've been here since Monday, lying on the beach a little bit, so I'm really good mood. We had a bad start in the season, but as we saw in the first brake test this morning, it should be good. The car feels good. We have to work a little bit on the setup, but anyway, I'm really positive about this weekend.
Lamborghini has enjoyed a tremendous start to the title race. At Swiss Racing, Peter Cox and Carl Wendlinger only just missed out on a podium in Belgium, and the team is definitely beginning to get to grips with the Murcielago. But Al-Inkle drivers Marc Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock lead the championship after winning last time out, and their teammates are unbeaten in qualifying. Sadly for Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwego, however, they have yet to complete a single racing lap.
I don't know if we're quick enough to be in the front row, but that's now not our target. We want to collect good points and to get our season started. We have shown already that we're quick enough. Now we have to finish the race.
Finally, Nissan. The GTR won the qualifying race here last September, and its powerful V8 engine is well suited to climbing the hills and obliterating the long start-finish straight. Hopefully, the two Sumo Power cars will leave each other alone this time. While over at JR Motorsports, two of the stars of last year's event are teamed up together. Richard Westbrook finished second in the championship race, and Peter Dunbreck enjoyed his one and so far only victory in the series in the qualifying race.
You've got to have a lot of bottle here. You know, it's some very fast corners. The car touches hard on the bumps and things like that. So the GTR seems to run well here, and you know, we have a really good lineup of drivers. So I hope that we can at least get a car up the front in a winning position and some other cars close behind.
We're all set to go for the qualifying race here at Portimao in Portugal. Hello and welcome from me, Ben Edwards. I'm with John Watson as we prepare for the first of two races this weekend, which will lead us through the third round of the FIA GT1 World Championship. And we'll see whether the Nissans, which have been very fast in practice and qualifying, can convert that advantage into some useful points. They need the points after an absolutely disastrous time last time out at Zolder. Championship leaders are the Lamborghini, the Alenkel car of Marc Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock. They've got some work to do from further down on the grid, and their teammates, who've been so fast in qualifying elsewhere, they didn't even get a qualifying lap in today. They'll be starting at the back. So, John, lots to watch out for in this qualifying race.
Well, we know from last year this is a circuit that suits the Nissan GTR extremely well, but this time they've definitely over-egged their pudding because they're hogging the front two rows of this grid, and talk about a lockout going to turn one. If those four Nissans don't come out 1, 2, 3, 4, there will be all you know what to pay for when the guy gets back to his garage.
There is the Lamborghini right at the back of the grid, which will be starting last, but is potentially one of the fastest cars out there. Again, it was fast in practice, didn't get a run in qualifying, as we mentioned, but keep an eye out for Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager. Let's see if they can get their first points of the season. Qualifying race does basically set the cars up on the grid for the championship race, but it scores some points. 8 points for the win, 6 points for second, and on down to 6th place. Up front, though, as you say, John, the Nissans have dominated. It's Richard Westbrook's car on pole position to the left as you look at that shot. There we are, there he is, the number 22 car. Interestingly, this is Richard Westbrook's first ever pole in GT1.
But last year in a 4GT, almost the opposite sort of end of the race car spectrum from the Nissan he's in now, he was one of the stars of the race, particularly the Sunday championship race.
Yeah, that's right. And Peter Dunbreck was definitely one of the stars of the qualifying race when he shared with Michael Krum. They won the qualifying race. So Peter Dunbreck now sharing with Richard Westbrook. They're in great shape. But those four Nissans, you've got a JR Motorsports, the black and red colours, and the white and black are the Sumo Power team. And so they're in sort of team formation. Away we go then on the start of the formation lap around this Portimao circuit. They'll set them off in just a moment. There we go. Chance for them to just light up those rear tyres and see what the response of the clutch is like, see how the cars move away. But it will be a rolling start when they come back round past us around this circuit, which, John, is really, it's an enjoyable circuit whether you're in the car in the cockpit or whether you're like us watching from the sidelines.
Well, it is a real roller coaster of a racetrack. I think it's a super circuit. 16 challenging corners, good straights. I mean, it is what a racetrack ought to be, and puts a big premium on car setup. You're going up into the sky, literally, at two parts of the circuit. You can't actually see the circuit momentarily, and you've got that momentous turn 16 onto the pit straight, which goes on and on and on. But what a great corner when the car is right.
Looking through the grid at the moment, one very important point to make note of is the fact that the Aston Martin of Stefan Mucker, the number 8 car, starting all the way back on the 7th row of the grid. You'll see it pop up onto the graphic in just a moment. And that's because they picked up some penalties. Some penalties for an engine change yesterday, but also they drove into the pit box at the end of qualifying today instead of into Parc Fermé. Parc Fermé, of course, being the area that they should always stop at the end of a session so the cars can be scrutineered to check they meet all the legal requirements. Well, they didn't. They drove it back into the pit garage, and they therefore lost their Q3 qualifying time, and that's part of the reason that they're back on the 7th row of the grid.
It'll make it all the more exciting for us. We know Stefan Mucker will be on it right from the minute those lights go out. He is an out-and-out racer. Not necessarily the most loved driver in the paddock, because he does have contact from time to time. Not necessarily always his fault, but he's always around when there is contact. So keep an eye on that young driver, Aston Martin, car number 8.
Well, we just had a quick glimpse of James Rumsey, the boss of the both of the Nissan teams, and I bet you they are under strict instructions, these guys, to come home in one piece. And I wonder actually how hard they'll race against one another. We'll have to see, and it might come down to pit stops, that sort of thing. We were on board briefly the Lucas Luhr Michael Krum car, which is starting on the 2nd row of the grid. Remember, it's the Richard Westbrook car that will be starting up front. Richard taking the reins. There's Mike Hasemans. He'll be in the Corvette a little bit later on. Of course, Nicky Katzberg is in the car at the moment. So there is, in fact, it's Dumbrack, sorry, my mistake. Dumbrack starting the number 22 car on pole position. So Richard Westbrook's watching from the sidelines. And there is Michael Krum. He's on board the number 23 car. As we get ready, the start of this qualifying race, the 3rd round of the FIA GT1 World Championship about to get underway. The pace car peels off. Watch out for the lights going to green. And then we will be racing. It's a long hold, it's a long hold. They're on the brakes, they're still waiting. And I'm not sure, are they going to be given a start here? Yes, away we go, it goes green. A long pause there, and away we go at last.
And one of the Nissans been swamped by Lamborghini, the Swiss racing team on the left of the screen, right of the car, but Nissan 1, 2, and contact with the Lamborghini, and then Nissan has gone round the Brazil car.
Goes the Enrique Bernoldi car on Ricardo Zonta. Zonta in the car at the moment. Zonta has spun out already. Oh, and there's more contact. The Corvette tapping the back. One of the Belgian Fords has gone off. That's the car of Vanina X. We've got more chaos down there. Aston, the Lamborghini of Cox.
Stefan Mucker's car as well.
Yeah, in there. So absolute drama on this opening lap. And Peter Dumbrack leads the race. He got off his pole position, but behind him all sorts of things have been cracking away.
One of the two young Aston drivers, I'm not sure there was a Mucker car. I think that they may have been clear in that, but there it is. It's the Enger car.
It's the Alex Muller in it at the moment. Thomas Enger was due to take it over later. Oh my goodness. Well, a really disappointing start for a number of teams here. Just the first lap, for goodness sake, and yet we've lost a number of key. Now look at the Lamborghini there, the number 37 car. Dominic Schweger's already gained a few places there because he started last. Well, he's gained about 4 bits.
Bodywork on the track up to turn 12.
That was one of the Fords. I couldn't see which one it was. But I tell you what, that Lamborghini's made up a whole host of places because all the chaos at that first corner, he's made up about 7 or 8 places, I think.
And those two Lamborghinis, the Al Enkel cars, really would have been the most likely challengers here today to the Nissan had they not had their problems during Friday and Saturday morning.
So looking back as we come down over that brow through the last corner here, we're about to complete the first lap, and it'll be Peter Dumbrack who crosses the line first. Michael Krum in another Nissan is second. David Brabham is in third, but here is the battle going on at the moment. Across the line, Marc Vassin in the Lamborghini, trying to get past Darren Turner, and Darren Turner not having any of it, and the other Lamborghini right behind there as well. Amazing that it's come up so well, that car, having started right at the back of the field. So here comes Basseng, little bit of a look on Turner there, still no way past. Dominic Schwager is right behind. You're on board with Basseng, having won the qualifying and championship races last time out.
But what's the car behind that? The sister car, the Schwager car, was diving down the inside as it has just done, taking that position away. That is the quicker of the two Lamborghinis. Not a lot in it as they come out of turn 6, up through turn 7, side by side. They've got to give each other working room. They are a team, although they're in competition.
Yeah, and also remember that Mark Basseng's car's carrying success ballast. It's got 50 kilos of success ballast as a result of its good performances at Zolder, whereas the 37 car has had no finishes. I tell you what, though, they've completed a racing lap for the first time in that number 37 car.
Well, there's a long way to go, 56 minutes to go, so let's hope that those two Lamborghinis who have been in problems with their transmissions, again, I don't understand why these identical cars suffer that apparently more than the Swiss Racing Team Lamborghini.
So Peter Tambrecht leads, Michael Krum is in second place, David Brabham currently in third. It's a Nissan, 1, 2, 3. Katzberg is fourth in the Corvette, so the red Corvette really going well. Basseng is in fifth place. Turner, sorry, no, not any longer, because it's now Schwager who has got past Basseng, as we know. Oh, and there's a little bit of a dice going on with Basseng now having to protect his position from Maxime Martin, the Ford GT. He's having a bit of a tough call here, trying to find his way past. Let's see whether he can get him as they come down the straight. You can see the bumps on the straight quite clearly. Going defensive is Basseng, the championship leader, trying to go to the inside, and Max Martin's trying to go around him. Oh, that was a great move.
Contact. I think the Lamborghini had contact. Now, there's certainly, well, I don't know, there it is. There was contact.
But he's made it through. He has made that place. So Maxime Martin's got up to 7th. Basseng has dropped down to 8th position as a result of that. Meanwhile, there are their Lamborghini teammates looking fairly impassive at the moment. Marcus Winkelhock will be taking over from Basseng. Behind, there's another little bit of racing. Leclerc coming under pressure there. That is Bas Linders going through. The two Ford GTs are still side by side as they go up the hill, though. And Bas Linders, yeah, does get in front.
And on behind that, of course, you've got the Brazilian-driven Nissan that got tagged in turn 1. It's trying to make up ground in 13th place, Ricardo Zonta. Yeah, it was Ricardo Zonta, the big loser of the Nissans, wasn't he, at the start? Let's take another look at this and see how it all developed. Well, you've got the Lamborghini there, the Nissan in the middle, and going down into turn 1, and Aston Martin to the left. It's just as a pincer movement, and around it goes. Yeah, this was the run down to the first corner. Good start by Peter Tambrecht on the inside there. The Brazilian car up on the outside, gives him space, tries to turn in, but it's the Lamborghini that tags him, and it causes a little bit of a queue behind, but actually most people manage to avoid it. But it's into turn 4. It all then, as usual, congests. Big field, having to get on the brakes. Once one car sets off, there it is, the Lamborghini got tagged. Oh, look at the Aston right up, and that's why the suspension on that car got broken. And it also spun around the Hexis Aston Martin too, of Piccini. So that car lost out hugely in that incident. And I think Piccioni, Clivio Piccioni, I'm sure he was involved in that. Well, lots of contact on the way down to turn 4, let alone what took place just a second ago. That Bosch up the back of the Lamborghini, and then the Aston up in the air, which we didn't get to see in that particular shot. We didn't even see it first time around. Well, this is all very dramatic, wasn't it? Down through the first few corners. Oh, and there was that little tap. We did see that from the Corvette, and then running out wide for Nina Ix. She had to go right round the outside. Look at that, through the gravel. And here's another. This should be an interesting view of it, as it all went wrong. Look how high it went, and spinning round. Yeah, it was the number 3 car of Dusseldorf, rather than Piccioni in the Hexis Aston. He got stranded. Look at them all beaching themselves through the gravel. Oh dear, real mess. Well, up front is Peter Tambrecht who leads. Michael Krum, who is in second. No difference really between them, and Brabham in third. Well, they're all together at the moment, just 2 seconds separating. There's the Corvette in fourth, but look at the pressure being applied now by Darren Turner in the Aston Martin, and the young driver team will be desperate to get something out of this. They've already lost the Alex Muller Thomas Enger car from this in that incident that we were just watching. But watch out behind Darren Turner, because there's the fast Lamborghini that started at the back of the grid of Dominic Schwager. And Darren Turner will want to find a way past Nicky Katzberg as quickly as possible in the Corvette. The Corvette doesn't look as good as it normally does. The Aston looks to have a better balance, more grip in corners. Of course, down through turn 16, the aero comes into effect, and it's difficult to get that car right under the rear wing of the Corvette, and that's where any advantage around the back of the circuit is lost. But the speed, pretty equal down into turn 1.
So V8 Corvette versus V12 Aston Martin. You're looking from on board Darren Turner's car as he heads down into that first corner. Oh, a little bit of correction needed through that section, and now down towards turn 4, not close enough to challenge on the inside there. The Corvette looks pretty nimble turning in, and Nicky Katzberg, the youngster who shares that Corvette with Mike Hazelman's, again putting on an impressive showing. They were second in the qualifying race at Zolder, and once again they could be set for some points in this one, unless Darren Turner and others behind him, particularly the Lamborghini, can get past.
Well, Dominic Schwager, we're looking all over the Aston, looking to see where he's got an advantage, and we know how quick that driver-car combination has been, but it's just a matter of being a little bit more patient than we've seen on other occasions. The opportunity will no doubt come. Just be patient.
Let's listen to the V12 working hard here. Flat out through that section, and then hard on the brakes. No real opportunity to overtake at this part of the track. Through turn 12 now.
They're dropping down. This is the part of the track. The Aston seems marginally quicker than the Corvette is, but really the differences are so small. It's not giving Darren Turner the opportunity, and in fact Nicky Katzberg is just driving his own line. He's not even having to think about going defensive.
This is the key corner. Let's listen here. Does he give it a big lift on the next right-hander?
Well, he feathers it, certainly. Not a lift, but he's just feathering the throttle just to stabilise the entry. But again, the Corvette strong through turn 16 and not giving Darren Turner any opportunity. And whereas the Lamborghini, some are hidden behind those two behemoths as they come down. And the 4GT also gradually, as is the second of the LL Kill, the Lamborghini's gradually catching back up, having been ahead of his teammate.
Zonta gained a place on that last lap, so he's back up to 10th on his recovery run here. No, we're not looking at him at the moment. We're looking at one of the 4GTs, Vanina X. Let's just take a look. This was Vanina X. I think she just gained a place, actually. Yep, she got past Michael Rossi in the Corvette. He got a bit wide, she got up the inside and completed the move.
Good job. She put herself in the right place at the right time and was able to control that situation, and the Corvette basically had to just get out of it because it was in the wrong part of the racetrack for turn 16.
Fastest lap has gone to Michael Krum at the moment, who sits second, under 1 second behind Peter Dumbreck, as the Nissans continue to lead this race. The two Belgian Fords there sandwiching the car of Andrea Pettini, the Hexis car, which I think lost out a bit at the start, although they hadn't qualified as well as their sister car. The Clivio Piccioni Düsseldorf car currently down in 16th place, so really losing out. They got spun around at the start, of course, and they are second in the championship at the moment, the Düsseldorf Clivio Piccioni Hexis Aston Martin, but all the way down in 16th, so they will have to depend on one of their mercurial pit stops. They're really going to need it this time. On board with the second place car here, Michael Krum.
Yes, Michael Krum knows this place and knows the car particularly, and he will not want to finish second to his teammate car, currently driven by Peter Dumbreck, and he has got his eyes set very clearly on winning this race for him. And well, Aston again marginally closer this time, running down towards turn 1.
Yeah, here we go. Darren Turner is having a little look at the back of Nicky Katzberg's Corvette, but again he can't get it alongside sufficiently, and if he does that, he's going to watch out now for the Lamborghini behind.
I mean, there was temptation offered by Katzberg, and then at the last minute he just swung across the corner. Turner anticipated it, got out of the throttle a little bit earlier, knew that while he was in position he wasn't going to get that corner easily, so he did the right thing. He just backed off, let the Corvette go through, and lives to fight yet another lap. Yeah, and we've got a way to go yet. Just under 50 minutes, of course, in this race, but it's the championship race tomorrow that hands out the big points. So if you make a risky manoeuvre in the qualifying race and throw away a chance to finish well, then you pay for it the next day. Front wing flapping a little bit on the number 41 Ford of Maxime Martin, who's joining the back of this queue. He's running in 7th place. Basseng is still in 8th place, some way behind them. Linders is in 9th. There's Stefan Mucker sharing the car with Darren Turner. And they have made progress. Remember, as a result of their miscue in qualifying this morning, not following procedure correctly, they started back on the 7th row. So for Darren Turner here to be fighting for 4th is a major achievement. Yes, it's just simply getting through those opening corners without contact and making sure that you do a clean start. And let all the others trip over themselves, give you the benefit as a bonus for Darren Turner.
Now, John, is this Is this a problem for Max Martin? That bonnet flapping, that right wing, is this going to cause a black and orange, or will he get away with it?
I think at the minute that's within acceptable margins, but it depends whether it deteriorates. It will be under observation. The stewards will be keeping an eye on that, and if they think that that's becoming dangerous, and you can see there lifting at high speed, it is getting higher and higher. The concern is that it might eventually break that bit of bodywork, fly up in the air, maybe hit another car, or do other damage to the Ford itself.
Yeah, so as you say, they'll be keeping a close eye on that. If they feel that it's a problem that might cause damage to someone else, there's Jan Clare. He's going to be coming out in a little while, standing in for Fred Makovic this weekend in one of the Fords. But if they felt that it would cause damage, they would give a black and orange flag, which indicates the driver must come in and have it attended to. But no sign of it at the moment. And as we follow this battle for fourth, it's still Corvette, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, and right behind them the Ford GT, all a bit nerve-wracking. But Darren's doing fine at the moment. He's holding on to fifth. That would be okay, as long as they get a good pit stop. He might be able to pick off a few more, but you just feel that any opportunity here is going to keep Katzberg under pressure.
Well, Katzberg's doing a good job, and then he's not reacting to the pressure from behind. You're seeing his car looking stable on the exit of corners, so when he knows he's under pressure and distance in terms of the car behind him, Darren Turner had a little look up onto turn 12, and now I look at that Dominic Schweiger in the Lamborghini also thinking, can I force that issue, force the Aston, which might force the Corvette to give me an opportunity to make it 2 in 1 go.
Yeah, it's clear that these guys have got potentially more pace than the Corvette, lapping at 1 minute 44, as opposed to the 1 minute 43 of the race leader, Peter Dunbreck, who's got that gap to just over a second over his teammate. So this is the closest run thing at the moment on track. You can see Max Martin at the back of the queue there as they head over the brow and down through the final turn. It's the race for fourth place that we're just watching as they come across the line. Lights ablaze. Still Nicky Katzberg, the youngster, holding off the experienced Darren Turner. Can Turner find any space on the run down to the first corner? Has a little look to go to the inside. He might be more there this time. Yeah. I think he's got there.
Good job, good clean pass, worked it out, took the opportunity and got himself alongside prior to entering the corner, and that Katzberg in this instance had nothing to do. Maxime Martin also likes a bit of this action, putting pressure on Dominic Schweiger as they come through turn 4, up the hill into turn 5. So a change of order in this group of cars, running 5th through to 8th.
Well, Darren's partner Katie really enjoyed that, didn't she? Getting a real buzz seeing Darren get past the Corvette. What a good time to do it, John, in the race.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, maybe unexpectedly for Nicky Katzberg, didn't think the Aston this time was going to do it, but Darren had thought about it. He knew where he had strength, and that was into turn 1. Wasn't top speed, it was just a well-planned and executed manoeuvre, and that's the difference between experience and a younger, inexperienced driver. That
was a real delight there, and a big smile on Stefan Lucker's face too, because he's going to be taking that car over in a little while. So let's see what's going on. Back on board with Max Martin with that flapping right front wing. He's still behind the Lamborghini. Now they've got the task of trying to get past the Corvette. They've seen Darren Turner do it. Can these guys find a way past now?
Well, I think now that Schweiger is sort of getting this field falling maybe to his advantage, I would imagine that it would be a relatively easy pass for the Lamborghini on the Corvette, more so than it was for Darren Turner. I think the pace, the lap potential of the Lamborghini is greater than that of the Aston. But look how much Darren Turner's pulled out in the space of just over, well, virtually now a complete lap. And watch for the Lamborghini, and the Ford also right on the tail of Dominic Schweiger, so he can't relax as the Corvette runs wide, right off onto that rumble strip, and in fact onto the AstroTurf at the outside of the corner.
Yeah, but there's not enough there, surely, to get into an overtaking position. Here we are on board with Max Martin. No, not close enough. That's got to be hurting him a little bit in a straight line. That little flapping bit there. Let's go down to hear from Jan Clare to see what he thinks of it.
Change. Yeah. For the moment, was not so bad. Maxime take not a very good start, but it was a small accident at the second corner. But now we have the good speed compared this morning at the qualification, and I cross the finger to finish what this position or more. We will see for the race of the championship. Thank you.
Jan Clare, a race winner with Fred Makovic in an Aston Martin last year, but standing in for him this weekend in the Ford. He's getting his first grips with the Ford this weekend, but it's teammate Maxime Martin in the car at the moment, of course, as he continues to harry both the Lamborghini and the Corvette.
The Lamborghini again closing up to the tail of the Corvette. Again, difficult to do anything about it up into turn 12, but he's looking And again, and he's done it, he's forced the issue, but can he hold it as they drop down the hill, then up through the left-hand turn 13?
Oh my goodness, they got through that was fantastic.
Yeah, he forced the issue, he forced the Corvette, and now also Martin, and the Martin's coming back, and mistake by Schwager, almost side by side into turn 14.
Great racing once again here at Portimao as Schwager got through and then nearly lost it. Nicky Pastorelli couldn't believe it for a moment, thought the car was going off and was going to lose the place, but no, Dominic just held on to it. And so far so good. That means that he will have moved up into 5th place now, Schwager. 6th place for Max Martin, and down to 7th goes Katzberg after a hard-fought few laps there in the Corvette. Maybe he can just tag on the back of them now.
And what happened was the Lamborghini just got himself in a position to put the car really into the mirror of the Corvette as they came up the hill to turn 11 and turn 12. Let's look at it once again. And once he was there, you could almost sense that Katzberg felt, I've got to get out of the way. But then it's almost side by side down the hill, turn left up through 13, but the momentum had gone to the Lamborghini and Dominic Schwager, and the Ford picked up the pieces as almost like a bonus.
Yeah, that's right, but that was really exciting stuff. This was the view from on board the Ford, but particularly watch them as they come down the hill. This car you're riding with will go up past the Corvette, but watch the car right in front. He locks up here and goes really deep, really deep, really deep, and only just makes the corner.
I mean, Maxime Martin must have thought, I can't believe it. But enough recovery from Dominic Schwager and the Lamborghini to keep his just newly won position one corner before.
Yeah, well, Schwager and Pastorelli desperately need a finish. There must have been hearts in mouths there, but somehow he found some traction on the exit of the corner, just enough to fend off the Ford. So, up front, it's Dumbreck leading. 40 minutes, just over 41 minutes to go in the race. Pit window opens up in 6 minutes' time when Dumbreck will at some point then hand over to Richard Westbrook and Michael Krum will hand over to Lucas Law. These two lapping pretty rapidly, 1:43.8 last time around for Peter Dumbreck, a 1:44.1 for Michael Krum. Third place still is David Brabham. He's lapping in a 1:44.8. So it's still Nissan's 1, 2, 3. There they are in the same shot. Their fourth member, Ricardo Zonta, he's in 10th place after that incident on the opening lap.
Just watching the two lead Nissan coming through turn 16 at the exit. Both the cars are just bottoming. There's a little bit of a dip just as they exit the corner, and both are just kicking up that little bit of, not smoke, it's just from the underfloor of the car.
Look at Zonta, he's now caught the back of Bas Linder's car, the number 40 Ford, there it is. And Zonta, who's still trying to recover from that earlier incident, is trying to put some pressure on here. Further down the order, we've got X, Leclerc. Actually, Vanina X is now ahead of her teammate Leclerc, so that's been a change. There's Dusseldorf in the Hex's Aston Martin. What a disastrous race this is for them at the moment, but don't count them out, because Hexes are so stunning on the pit stops that he may well jump a few when we get to the driver swaps.
I mean, he's currently in 16th place. It would be an act of faith that they could repeat what we saw in Abu Dhabi and with bonus, but nevertheless, that's the penalty. You get involved in a corner incident, particularly in the opening lap.
Thought he might have a look down the inside into turn 6, but he wasn't quite there, although Leclerc puts the rubber down, doesn't he? Sliding the back end of the Ford. Lovely to see these big, powerful machines really laying the rubber down. It's about driver control. There's no traction control. Richard Westbrook getting ready to take over from Dumbreck as Clivio Piccioni starts to get ready to take over from Steph Dusseldorf in that Hex's Aston, which is also beginning to slide around. Chasing him is Michael Rossi in the Corvette, the number 47 car there.
Up the hill again, up through turn 11, and dives down the inside. And that sort of caught the Ford rather unawares because they did make contact. But Steph Dusseldorf has got the advantage, and that'll be a surprise. To give that Leclerc to give that away as easy as that. Yeah, Antoine Leclerc, certainly the Aston got there, but I don't think he knew it was there. No, he wasn't even looking in his mirrors, hadn't a clue. Dusseldorf, good move by Dusseldorf. Great qualifying effort by Steph Dusseldorf as well. This is a replay from on board the Ford. Watch for the Aston on the inside here. There's the contact. Couldn't quite see the nose, but the angle not giving us the full peripheral vision. No, and I mean, Leclerc basically just caught unawares, not using his mirrors, not placing his car in the middle of the road or to the right of the road as you come up to turn 11 and 12, and that would have precluded that move from the Aston Martin, and it would have meant that the Ford would have retained its position. So Dusseldorf up to 15th, but that's all, I'm afraid, after the incident at the first corner. Nissan 1, 2, 3, you can see it scrolling through. Then the fourth place Aston Martin of Darren Turner.
5th place, the Lamborghini of Dominic Schwager. 6th place, the Ford of Maxime Martin. The Corvette of Katzberg, chased by Marc Basseng in his Lamborghini. And then Bas Linders, Ricardo Zonta, as we've seen. The number 4 Hexus Aston of Andrea Piccini there. That's running down in 12th. I have to say, for Hexus, it's not looking very promising at the moment. Whereas for Nissan, it's looking very, very good indeed, you have to say, with the two the two JR Motorsport cars, not the Sumo cars. The Sumo cars are further back. But the JR Motorsport cars, both in great shape. But you do wonder what's going to happen on the pit stops, because they're that close to one another that it will be decided, I would think, by the pit stop.
I know it's a comfortable lead in relative terms for the top 2 Nissans plus the 3rd Nissan of David Brabham, but the top 6 cars are all running identical lap times, and they have to be careful, particularly when it comes to a pit stop. One little error on a wheel change, a wheel not spinning out of the gun or something, will mean that the comfortable lead that Nissan are enjoying right now with top 3 positions could change quickly.
Dumbreck and Krum, both racers who've spent a lot of their careers racing in Japan, in Japanese GTs, right at the top of their game. Really, really impressive records. They both have impressive CVs and both pushing hard at the moment, but bearing in mind also that they are desperate to bring some points home. So surely they're not going to do anything silly at this point. Dumbreck with that advantage, just under a second. So about a minute and a half now from when the pit window opens, and will they come in together? Both teammates, of course. Maybe they'll let the leader come in first. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, certainly they'll bring one of the 2 cars in. I'd be very surprised if both came in at the same time. So just get in the pit lane early. They've got little traffic to worry about. They've got the pace to deal with it. It'll be really where they blend back in. Do they fall back in to a group of cars as opposed to an individual car? They would prefer the individual car than the group.
Yeah, that's right. And Michael Krum is making sure that he stays right close to Peter Dumbreck as they get towards that pit stop time. Michael had the fastest lap on lap 4. No change to that. It's still a 1:43.5. They're just under a second slower per lap now than they were doing in the early stages when they had more fuel, but of course the tyres were also fresher. Look for some quick laps though after the pit stops, because if they've managed to save new tyres from yesterday, we could see some very rapid lap times.
So we're going to see the lead car, I believe, in first, as Richard Westbrook gets himself ready, as we look at the 3rd place car of David Brabham running about 3 seconds, 4 seconds behind 2nd place car. Yeah,
that's right. He and Jamie Campbell-Walter sharing this car, and sitting in a comfortable 3rd. They've got a good advantage over the 4th place Aston Martin of Darren Turner. So everybody now getting ready. Enrique Benoldi's all set to take over from Ricardo Zonta, who is moved up now, actually, Zonta. He's got past both Linders and Basseng, has Ricardo Zonta. So Zonta's up to 8th, by the way. And the pit window's open. Oh, and that's a spin for Linders. Bas Linders, who had been passed by Zonta a moment ago, but I don't think that's connected. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, it's difficult to tell. Was that an assisted spin or was that just self-induced?
Oh, that's disappointing again.
Into turn 1. Look at it just looks like he locked up, or maybe there was a failure of some description.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that right rear tyre is deflated, because something has caused that car to suddenly just spin out of control at the point when he got on the brakes, and the right rear, the right rear has gone down.
Yeah, right rear puncture. So that's a blow, isn't it? Because Bas Linders and Mark Henrici have had a horrible start to the year, and it looks as though it's continuing in the same vein. Looks as though puncture on that car means that his teammate's not even going to get to go out and play. Stefan getting ready to go out in the Aston Martin that he's sharing with Darren Turner. That's sitting in 4th place. It's the only car, well, not really in with a shout even of the top 3 Nissans at the moment. It's best of the rest, because the Nissans are dominating here.
So are they going to come in? No, they're not. Staying out another lap.
Interesting. So they could have come in on that lap, but both of them stay out there. It'll be Lucas Luhr taking over from the in the 2nd place car of Michael Krum, that all-German lineup. Looking forward to their home race next week at the Saxon Ring. Into the pits, though, comes the Sumo Power car of David Brabham. He's going to be handing over to Jamie Campbell-Walter. Darren Turner has come in as well. So Stefan Mucker, as we saw, ready in the pit lane, is all set to take over the Aston Martin.
So let's see who can get in and out quickest. It should be the Nissan. It should be David Brabham handing over to Jamie Campbell-Walter. You've got to make sure that every aspect of this change, particularly the nuts and the gun, aren't going to give you a problem.
So coming in 3rd and 4th places, it would take a minor miracle, though, for a young driver to come out ahead of the Nissan here, because the gap between them was pretty big.
It would be a miracle, but it would be a small one if they could get a little bit closer than they were in the Nissan. Oh, and somebody just, what's going on? We almost saw a replay of what we saw in Abu Dhabi.
But he stopped and he's got going. Jamie Campbell-Walter gets going, and he's definitely out ahead of Stefan Mucker there. So he hasn't lost the place to the Aston Martin, despite a hold-up in the pits as somebody else was coming in.
Yeah, and that's always the concern. We saw what happened with the Nissan and whatever it was in Abu Dhabi, where they went literally door handle to handle.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that was not ideal.
So also in championship leader, Mark Basseng to hand over to Marcus Winkelhock in the 38 Lamborghini, and the Corvette, Mike Hazemans has taken the wheel there in the background. You've also got the number 6 Lamborghini, that's been a change. Max Nielsen has taken over from Jiri Janak, and he's on his way. So are we going to see the leader coming in yet? Round comes second place car is the first of these two to pit.
So they're going to let the lead car, Peter Dunbrook, stay out and probably stay out as long as he is comfortable leading this race at a lap time which is appropriate. Once the lap times of the cars that have had the pit stop start to go quicker than Dunbrook is doing, then that's one lap too late. He should have come in earlier.
So maybe they're trying to get him a clear run in and out of the pits, but certainly it's Michael Krum. There's been a really good first stint from him. It's Lucas Luhr who jumps in to take over as the wheel change goes into effect now, and that's where really the time is won or lost. It's on the wheel change, so the guy's running around as quickly as possible, and it's the 31-year-old Lucas Luhr, the driver from Koblenz, who is now all set to go. As in also is the Dominic Schwager, Nicky Pastorelli Lamborghini. Out goes the Nissan. I think he had a clear run, or the Zonta car was just coming in at the same time. Benaldi's going to take that one over. And meanwhile, this car's still being worked on. Wait to see where it comes back out in the order. Away goes Lucas Luhr then. And I think the Lamborghini just about all set to go. So round they come. Just about the half-distance mark in this race now, as we get ready to see just how these things are going to change. That was tight, wasn't it?
Well, again, there's the release of the car from the pit lane and another car's coming down. It's so fine, and, you know, the guy who's releasing the car when there's a car coming towards you should be prepared to hold that car until the car in the what is still part of the racetrack, the outside lane in the pit lane, has cleared you.
Yeah, well, he's just about got away with it. This Hexis team, we know how fast they can be on their pit stops, but can they produce the magic? In comes race leader then, Peter Dunbrook, to hand over to Richard Westbrook. Now, this is the big call. Are they going to get this car out ahead of their teammates, or will Lucas Luhr put in a stunning outlap and be able to beat them? That's where the battle for the victory really is here.
Well, Peter Dunbrook has done everything he needs to do to bring this car into the pit lane. He's led the race from the start. He came up to the white line and nailed the brakes to get the speed down to 60 kilometers per hour. He can do no more from now on. It's in the hands of the team in the pit lane. Richard Westbrook will no doubt be right on it. There is the Lucas Luhr car, so it's going to be a close call once again. Rear tire goes on, and the car comes up to turn 14. From here on, it's almost flat out, other than a little breathe coming through the apex of turn 16.
Oh, that was a good clean getaway for Richard Westbrook. No time lost. Look at the rubber he lays down. So has he done enough? It looks pretty good, but we'll have to wait and see, because he's got to go down the pit lane at a slow speed. He's approaching on the left. You've got the man he's racing against on the right-hand side. They're going to be virtually together as they come back out. It's Lucas Luhr who just goes ahead. Westbrook slots in behind him.
And Richard Westbrook did not want to give up that position. He's even having to still tighten down those seat belts, but Lucas Luhr had the momentum and was on a mission to take the lead, or effectively, when this whole pit stop cycle works its way through, will be in the lead.
So now what happens next? Does Westbrook really go for it, or does the team say, no, you've got to just hold position now?
Westbrook's got a problem with one of those seat belts.
Lucas Luhr looking at the rears. That will give Westbrook a chance.
Yeah, but Westbrook's, he was pulling on the left strap of the seatbelt. Now, we saw that happen in one of the previous events where the seatbelt did not get fully attached, and that resulted in a pit stop.
Let's take a look at the exit here from Richard Westbrook's point of view. And the belts, he was still trying to get the belts done up. I don't know why there was a problem getting it done up. It didn't seem to want to tighten as much as he would normally do it.
That should all be done while the car's static. Why the belts would suddenly find themselves slack. And again, he was at it once he got through turn one, but watch for the car on the left. Oh, it was easy for Lucas Luhr.
Yeah, he was through, wasn't he? No problem at all. But yeah, that was strange that he was still trying to tighten those down. They had plenty of time to do that while the wheels were being changed. Nevertheless, it looks as though these two guys, this, by the way, is the Ford, which has stopped last of the leaders to stop, and Max Martin now handing over to Jan Claret. I should think they'll join in back in around 5th place, 6th place. We'll see exactly where they are when they come back in, back out onto the circuit. Leclerc hasn't stopped yet in the Belgian racing Ford, but apart from that, I think, yeah, he's just come in now. Everybody has made their pit stop. Away goes Jan Claret. Not too much rubber left by him, as we see there the number 21 car of Jamie Campbell-Walter just coming across the line.
So in 5th place at the minute, but this will still cycle through. We've still got the leaderboard catching up with the pit stops as the Ford comes out of the pit lane. That did have the lead for one lap, but came in at the end of that lap. So Jan Claret in the car after a great stint by Maxime Martin.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is where he is relative to the number 37 Lamborghini. There's Martin Matzke, who's now, well, in fact, there's Leclerc getting out, Martin Matzke getting into the yellow and black car, and that looked like relatively untroubled stop. Away they go then. So everybody has now made their pit stop that's still running in the race, that is. Of course, Thomas Enger never got to drive his car because it went out on the first lap. Look how close those top two Nissans are as Lucas Luhr leads from Richard Westbrook.
Richard Westbrook wants to win here. I know Lucas Luhr does as well, but the team have got to be in control of these two drivers and not allow them to race at a level where it puts either driver or car into a situation where it would hurt the team.
Absolutely right. In terms of points, Westbrook and Dunbrack are certainly, they've got the edge over these guys because none of the other Nissans have scored quite as well. But every point is going to count in this championship, as we saw last year, and you've got to keep pushing and get as much as you can. Westbrook, oh, look at that. Look at the car sliding there. Really getting a lot of movement.
I think Richard Westbrook thinks there's a chance to get a run through turn 16 and get the run and down into turn 1. He's not close enough this lap. The car was a little bit slidey, oversteery, but I don't think Richard Westbrook's going to be satisfied running behind Lucas Luhr for very long.
He's an aggressive racer, is Westbrook. He has a little look, he's going for it down the inside, and in fact Lucas Luhr didn't fight that hard. You almost wonder whether he let him go, or I don't know, but he almost didn't fight it as hard as I might have expected if it had been not a teammate.
Well, you'll never know, and I suppose the truth of the matter is we don't know either whether there had been instruction from the team to give this car the benefit because of this points situation. It would be a bitter pill for Lucas Luhr to have to swallow, to be told to let his teammate go ahead purely from a points position.
Well, Westbrook certainly lined him up well. Whether he let him through or whether he just saw that Westbrook had the extra speed there and he just thought, well, it's not worth fighting it here. Let's take a look. This was Westbrook, got a good slipstream down the inside.
Well, Lucas Luhr couldn't get any further to the left if he had tried, and you have to say there's maybe an influence coming from the pit wall to not get involved in a battle, but if you're going to let one car go ahead of the other, well, that's what's going to happen.
Well, let's go and ask the question, see if we can find out. Haley is with James Rumsey.
James, did you just order Lucas to let Richard pass?
No, we let our drivers race. We don't do team orders. They're free to race on the circuit as long as they don't come together and do anything stupid.
Thank you, James.
Well, there's the answer. So Richard Westbrook made the move.
And in fairness, you have to say that's the answer you'd expect to the question.
Indeed. Well, whatever is the truth of the matter, the most important thing for James is that he's got two cars running, 1, 2, in fact 3 cars up there, of course, with Jamie Campbell-Walter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we picked up that this car, the Westbrook car, was quicker overall on that last lap, and while he didn't make enough through turn 16, he seemed to make up enough time down on the run into turn 1, and there was no resistance offered by Lucas Luhr, who at that point was the leader of the race.
Interesting reaction from Peter Dunbrack. It was almost, he was going for it, and yeah, he's done it, fair enough to him. So maybe it was all just all fair and all in the team, and it was who was going to get there first. Westbrook got the move done, and Lucas Luhr now following.
Yeah, it could have been as simple as whoever leads up to the point where the pit stop window opens, assuming that we're not being challenged by other competitors, will be the car that will win the race. I mean, teams will often instigate that type of situation. Not really a team order per se, but it is in effect restricting what other drivers within the team who might be in a position to challenge are able to do.
Jamie Campbell-Walters just set a personal best on that lap, still sitting third. Now fourth is still the Aston Martin of Stefan Mucker, and then fifth here you've got Jan Claret and Nicky Pastorelli both dicing hard, so really they were pretty close to one another before those pit stops, and they're still close. But of course, Jan Claret in the first of these two, not as used to the car. He's still learning it.
And I think that that's going to work to Nicky Pastorelli's advantage, because he knows this car. We know how quick he's been in the Lamborghini, and again, just waiting for the part of the racetrack where he can use the performance and his natural speed to put a really good move on Jan Claret. But Claret so far not putting a wheel wrong, and he's not even having to defend vigorously the position right now.
Some way behind them, but catching these two cars is Marcus Winkelhock in the other Alinkel Lamborghini. You can't even see him in shot at the moment, but he put in a good lap last time.
Gone through. Oh, something happened to the Ford Jan Claret. Either he made a mistake, or he just said, look, I don't want you behind me, take the place. Suddenly the Ford out to the right of turn 13, and job done. Yeah, well, that surprised me completely. I wasn't expecting that, too busy looking at the timing screen. But Jan Claret, as you say, getting out of the way, really. So Nicky Pastorelli has now moved up to 5th. Having come from the back of the grid, you've got to say they'd be pretty happy with this. Let's take another look. Well, is there a lock-up on the Ford, or just an overrun into the corner? Certainly, well, there's a very faint little bit of blue smoke coming from the Ford's brakes, but certainly overran the corner, went wide, got onto the dirty end of the racetrack, and couldn't do very much to prevent the Lamborghini of Nicky Pastorelli just swooping up the inside. An easy pass for Pastorelli, probably the easiest he's going to see this season.
Yeah, I would think so. Claret still getting to grips with the car, still getting used to it. But at the moment, he's still got a point on offer here if he finishes in 6th place. But Winkelhock whizzed behind her. There is Winkelhock, and you can see he's not miles behind, and Bernoldi's chasing him in the Nissan.
Yeah, I think Bernoldi is going to be in a position to maybe take that position away from Marcus Winkelhock, because the pace of the Nissans here, if there's a circuit made that suits a Nissan, it is Portimao. So making up for the disappointment of the Brazilian car getting tagged early in the event and trying to get somewhere into the points, he's got to find at least 2 more places to achieve that aim.
The 2 Swiss Racing Lamborghinis are together, and interestingly, Max Nielsen is ahead of Carl Wendlinger, which is a different situation to what we've seen most of the year, but they had problems on that first lap, got spun around, of course, did Peter Cox in the number 5 car. So those two racing close. Just to remind you, you can go to gt1world.com to follow the live timing if you want to, so keep an eye on the race in even more detail. And of course, at the website there's a huge amount of extra information and a lot of features, TV features as well. Watch GT1 Life, where we'll bring you behind the scenes of everything that's going on in GT1 World Championship. Lots of special features that we make for the website, exclusive content, so do go to the website and catch up there.
Well, a little bit of a battle going on between these 2 Swiss Racing Lamborghinis. Carl Wendlinger not accustomed to being behind Max Nielsen in that the second of these 2 Swiss Racing Lamborghinis, and no doubt in his mind, clearly the quicker of the 2 drivers, but he's got to be able to make it stick and find a way to get past his less experienced teammate.
Yeah, but also keeping an eye on the Aston Martin up ahead of them. That is the car of Christian Hohenadel, as the 2 Lamborghinis head down the straight. That little bit of damage to the back of Wendlinger's car. Yeah,
I'd wonder, is that having any bearing on the airflow around and over the rear wing? Because if it is, it'll take away downforce coming through the higher speed corners, especially onto start-finish straight. Difficult to think that it is, but you know, the balance of these cars is so fine these days that anything that detracts from the performance, especially in a high-speed corner, you're going to lose it then all the way down the straight.
Just a quick note on, we wonder whether the Hexis team were going to do their usual magic and get their cars right up the order. It didn't really manage it this time. I think the other teams are beginning to catch up with their pit stops. And Clivia Piccioni currently runs in 13th place. Christian Hohenadel, as I just mentioned, he's running in 10th. But the Hexis cars haven't been able to convert their positions or have moved them further up as they did in the earlier races.
Well, they certainly set the standard in terms of pit stop times, and in Abu Dhabi and to some degree in Zolder, but I think other teams have realised that all the hard work that they do on the racetrack, what's of no point if you can't get a car in and out and serviced, and you lose 5, 6, maybe more seconds. Just you've got to focus on your pit work and get it to a level that is at least the level of the current best.
So Wendlinger keeping Max Nielsen very honest here as he charges around. This is the battle still, though, for 11th place, so no points on offer, but of course an extra grid position on the championship race tomorrow could be at stake. The 2 teammates could end up on the same row of the championship race if it carries on like this. Up front, just to remind you, Richard Westbrook is leading this race after a great opening stint by his teammate Peter Dunbrack, and then Westbrook's move to retake the lead from from Lucas Law. Look at the pit stop times here, John. We're just looking at who got the fastest pit stop. 53 seconds for the number 23 Nissan. That is the Lucas Law Michael Krum car. 3 seconds quicker, interestingly, than the Westbrook Dumbreck car. So that's presumably where they got the lead from.
Yes, it is, and that's why Lucas Law was able to come down pit straight at the point when Richard Westbrook was coming out of the pit lane and quite easily, effectively take the lead. But then Richard Westbrook countered at the earliest opportunity, again 1 lap later at the end of the pit straight, with a move that might be seen. Oh, Max Nielsen gets the back end and the rear brakes all out of shape, and Carl Wendlinger says, well, I'll have that any day of the week, thank you very much. Again, another sweet pass for Carl Wendlinger.
Just looking on down the list, yeah, actually I think that Nissan time was the fastest. The number 3 Aston time of 57 seconds. It was all around the 55 to a minute, but I think actually Nissan, if anything, came away with the fastest stop, so well done to them. And as I say, the competition has really closed up on the pit stops now, which is such a crucial part. Let's take another look at this.
Yeah, just down into turn 6. Watch the back end of the car, under brakes, dragging a wheel, and of course running wide, has to get out of the throttle, check the car. Here we are from Carl Wendlinger's perspective. He wasn't thinking about a pass. Oh, well, I'll take that right now. Easy, and of course now Carl Wendlinger should be able to pull away relatively easily from Max Nielsen.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit more pace there, and there's Peter Cox. He'll be relatively satisfied with that, but of course it's one thing to get past your teammate. Now they've got to go chasing after Christian Hohenadel in the Hexus Aston, who's quite a few seconds up the road, I think. Back with the race leaders, though, the 2 GTR Nissans of the JR Motorsports team.
Yeah, they're pounding around in the middle, 1 minute 43s. In fact, personal best on the last lap to Lucas Law. So he's not about to give this up, although he might have lost the lead somewhat ineffectually. He is still prepared to push Richard Westbrook all the way to the checkered flag.
There's Jess, Richard Westbrook's fiancée. She's here this weekend supporting him, and what a great weekend to come along. He ended up on pole position, he and Peter Dumbreck, their efforts, and it could be, let's not say too soon, I suppose, but he's certainly out in front at the moment with just over a quarter of an hour to go in the qualifying race. Of course, they all worry more about the championship race because that's where the big points are on offer. But you start from pole if you win this race, and it gives you every opportunity to repeat the performance.
Well, if you've got a circuit that works to your strengths, you've got to make the maximum out of it, and that's what Nissan are here doing in this qualifying race. And now getting up to, well, we're coming up to almost 6 o'clock in the evening, and the light starting to fall behind the grandstands. We're getting more shadows around the circuit. Another issue for drivers here at Portimao to consider, especially where you've got those areas of the racetrack where you point skywards and you can't see where the racetrack goes, and then when suddenly you come back into the lee of the light, then where's the racetrack? I can't see it.
There's Nicky Pastorelli still running 5th in the Lamborghini, looking for their first points of the season, and so far so good. They're being followed in the background there by Jan Clare, but we saw him give up the place fairly easily. Then you've got Marcus Winkelhock. He's chased by Enrique Bernoldi in the Nissan. Might possibly be a change there before the end, I suppose, because we've seen how fast the Nissan is. But there again, the Lamborghini's quick too, so Marcus Winkelhock has in fact been closing the gap gradually to Jan Clare in the 4, but it's still some 4 seconds. I'm not sure he's going to have time to do anything about that. The 2 other Lamborghinis of the Swiss racing team pass over the line once more and turn into the first corner. Wendlinger now in 11th, Nielsen in 12th, 13th place for Piccioni in the Hexis car. Christopher Nygaard is currently 14th in the number 9 Ford GT, and then we've got Matteo Bobbi, there he is, in the all-black Corvette. He's running in 15th place. 16th place is Martin Matzke, and he is the final runner at the moment. Remember, we lost a couple of cars earlier. We lost in particular the car of Alex Muller and Thomas Enger at the first corner, virtually the first corner, second corner, and we lost Bas Linders, which what looked like a puncture, which sent him into a big pirouette at the end of the straight.
Yeah, left a couple of double sort of figures of 8 as he spun down, and just probably happened at the point he was about to get on the brakes, and he was simply a little more than a passenger.
So climbing uphill and trying to get a bit more pace out of this car is Christopher Nygaard. He's new to the team this weekend, Christopher. He raced in the GT1 World Series last year, but first time out in the Ford GT, sharing the car with Vanina X. 25-year-old Dane here, Christopher Nygaard, and he drove with Stefan Mucker last year, in fact, in the driver team. Didn't manage to score any podium finishes, the pair of them. although they had one or two strong performances, and we'll see how he gets on. Now, there's been a little bit of drama on the pit stops. We saw that one or two cars, John, did get quite close to almost making contact. We saw Jamie Campbell-Walter, I remember, particularly having to get on the brakes.
Yeah, Marcus Winkelhock got on the brakes big time into turn 4 and locked them up.
Might be a chance for us to look back over some of those pit stops because they are such a crucial part. Let's just see. This was Jamie. Now, he starts to go, gets a bit of wheel spin, and then realises somebody is trying to come in.
Now, did he get an order from the pit lane to stop, or did he see something in his mirror, or we don't know? But those are the problems, and you see cars cutting across, coming into their garage, into their pit block, and others going out. And to me, it's the car that is exiting the pit lane when there is traffic coming down. That's the judgment whoever releases the car has got to make. And if you think your guy can get out in time without putting either car into the danger zone, then do it. But if you're questionable about it, you're better to hold it.
And it's a tough call because, as you saw there, it's very easy to get a lot of wheel spin on that concrete surface. It's very dusty on the inner working lane of the pit lane. The grip level is nothing like what the drivers are experiencing out on track, so it's terribly easy for them to dump the clutch and just sit there spinning
inevitably, when they realise there is pressure, they will do that. That's an instinctive move on a driver's part. And of course, the more you do that, the more you're going to sit stationary and you're still trying to move forward. So it is a call, very much a team call, to say either go or wait. And if it's a wait command, it seems an eternity. If it's a go, they've run the possibility of having a collision.
11.5 minutes to go, and you know what? Lucas Luhr has been the faster of the two leaders over the last couple of laps. And you saw from the graphic a second ago that his lap times have been slightly quicker. He's got the gap down to under a second. There's his teammate Michael Krum, keeping a close eye on progress to see whether he's going to put another challenge on Richard Westbrook here in the closing stages of this race. How are the tyres looking? How's the balance of the car feeling? Maybe there's a little difference between the two cars.
Well, I think although both drivers have been running in the middle 143s for the best part of this stint, the cars are both looking pretty good in terms of the balance of the car. There's no excessive understeer, there's no excessive oversteer in the corner, there's no braking, no locking of brakes anywhere around the racetrack. They're running in tandem, they're not ultimately racing each other.
On board with Richard Westbrook then, as he comes around the latter part of the lap here. Let's just listen up a bit. Yeah, let's listen into that lovely V8 rumble. Really singing away as he comes down the straight. As we saw earlier today, John, they've got the highest speed track figures too, haven't they?
Yes, they've just got a very, very strong car here. I mean, it is, when it's all right, it'll be good everywhere. They're not going to be quick on a lap without being quick down the straight. And they do use the horsepower that they've got and the torque of the engine also to drag that car down. I mean, this is not what I would call the most aerodynamic car. It's the truest, in a sense, GT car out there, but it isn't what you describe as a supercar like a Ford GT or maybe a Lamborghini.
Much taller than those, of course, but the balance of performance of equalises them, and with that extra horsepower that they've got, they do get some great racing, no doubt about it. Westbrook seems to have made the transition from the Ford GT that he drove so effectively here last year to the Nissan without any problem at all, doesn't he?
Well, he's a quality driver, basically. That's the bottom line.
So let's just go through the left-hander here. We're going to go down here from his teammate now, Peter Dunbrake.
Peter, we're just watching the onboard there. Can you guide us through the lap?
Sure. I think he's coming up to the fast left-hander, flatted through this one, into the second gear corner. The back gets very light into this one. We're coming up to the second last corner now. A lot of understeer through here. So you'll see him move away from the apex because the car understeers. But there's a very wide exit, so he's able to get on power early. Last corner is very fast, but a lot of understeer through there as well. So you can see his steering lock on there. Car comes out wide.
Are you happy that you're going to take it?
Sorry?
Are you happy that you're going to take it? You're going to take the win?
I have a lot of confidence in Richard, so I hope so. I guess, you know, barring any mistakes, it's also 23. So, yeah, now my focus is on tomorrow. I can do no more today, so I just need to do my job tomorrow now, and hopefully we can come away with, you know, 2 wins from the weekend.
Thank you, Peter.
A cautious Peter Dumbreck.
Well, now you know why the Scots are called canny, you know, and not prepared to say emphatically it's our victory, and quite rightly too, because so many things can go wrong. Even though we've got 8 minutes of this race remaining, that could be 8 minutes of purgatory for Peter Dumbreck.
Yeah, and funny, isn't it, that as you mentioned earlier, the last time Nissan won any of the races in GT1 was his victory here with Michael Krum on that occasion in the very same qualifying race back in September. So it obviously does suit Nissan, it suits Peter Dumbreck. We were chatting to some of the other team members, and even they were impressed with Peter's first sector times here. They said he's very rapid in the first sector, but all of the drivers at Nissan, as we know, are at absolutely top level, and for them to emerge with what looks like a victory here, that's got to be particularly satisfying.
Well, when each of the 4 drivers were in their respective practice sessions, they were all within a tenth or so of a second of one another, so they're extremely evenly matched. Of course, that's great within the team because it drives the team forward, and every driver is striving to be the man that the team want to refer to, but ultimately they do drive as a team. And what we saw in Belgium, where there was contact with a competitive car that then spewed back into one of the Nissans and then back into the second of the Nissans, they do not want a repeat of that, and therefore the drivers will be driving with respect rather than, let's say, under orders.
On board with Wendlinger, as you can see, he's caught the Hexis Aston Martin ahead of Christian Hohenadel. So you've got front-engine V12 Aston Martin versus mid-engine V12 here in the Lamborghini. Let's listen up. Bit of a feather there.
Yeah, very much so, and I'm not sure whether that's because of the lack of grip from the car, or he is not wanting to overrun the Aston into turn 14, and he wants to position himself in such a way that he gets a good run out of this double right-hander that falls away from you, then get into position through turn 16 and have a go down into turn 1. So when you plan your move, you're thinking that maybe half a lap ahead of where you are on the racetrack, and sometimes you do things. He pulls up, tries to get out alongside. Has he got enough speed? Not on this occasion.
No, but that Aston was definitely struggling to make the apexes up at the top end of the circuit. It is not gripping as well as it would like, but it's still quick in a straight line, so the main overtaking opportunity is denied to Wendlinger.
Well, the difference, I think, is that in the lower speed corners, the Aston maybe is struggling more than the Lamborghini, but in the high speed turn 16, the aero effect is helping. And remember, Aston did get a mildly revised aero pack, particularly in the rear of the car, to give it more stability, and that's maybe the reason why they were able to consolidate.
Yeah, a little look here though from Wendlinger down the inside. Late on the brakes, can he hold it? That's the question. He's gone deep. Oh no, back comes Hohenadel, and Wendlinger slides the Lamborghini. Wonderful stuff. Up the hill now, he's got the inside line for the right-hander coming up, and he should complete the manoeuvre.
Yeah, I mean, the Aston should have had that over and done, but he just was too aggressive on the throttle. The back end of the Aston slid. That caused the car to lose momentum. Watch it again. Big dive down the inside for Carl Wendlinger. Car snakes under braking. Can't slow it down enough. Allows the Aston to come back to switch over. And look, there's where the Aston lays rubber, whereas the Lamborghini had a cleaner low on the outside of the circuit, but had a cleaner exit, and it therefore had the momentum as they climbed up the hill up towards turn 7. Here's the view down into turn 6. Hard on the brakes, down the gear, pumping gears into second gear, but just overruns. Aston cuts back, and then all of a sudden, I passed you a millisecond ago, but the traction of the Lamborghini up the hill, and therefore the acceleration was fractionally better than the Aston, and again into turn 8 on the inside of the corner, the Aston had to concede.
Yeah, lovely view from on board that as well, as Wendlinger made the move stick in the end. So a great bit of driving. We've got the top 2 up there lapping some of the back markers now. Westbrook leading Lucas Luhr, and the gaps are staying pretty constant, as you can see, but they are getting amongst the back markers. They've just gone past Martin Matzke in the Belgian Racing Ford.
Yeah, and in these circumstances, the gap between first and second will begin to seesaw, but the art of traffic and managing traffic is a real skill for GT or long-distance sports car drivers, and of course that's the meat and two veg of these two competitors.
Yeah, they love it. Yeah, sliding through the traffic is all part of it.
Lucas Luhr entertained us with sliding through the traffic in the Nürburgring 24-hour race. I mean, telling us about it is enough to give you shivers.
Yeah, it was. It was exciting just hearing him talking about how they cut through the traffic at incredible different speeds. So he's a bit of a Nürburgring specialist, is Lucas Luhr. There he is in second place. That's the old Nürburgring, the Nordschleife. and he absolutely adores the place. There's Jamie Campbell-Walter, still sitting in third. He's still looking at a Nissan domination of the podium here today. But there's the Aston Martin of Stefan Mucker, shared with Darren Turner, and that could be very useful, a fourth place finish, keeping the Aston up there after a difficult day. Behind them you've got Nicky Pastorelli in the Lamborghini, lapping at a very similar pace, just not enough to really close the gap. And then there's the Ford of Jan Claret and Max Martin. Behind them, the championship leaders, not going to score any points in this one. Winkelhock and Basseng, they're in 7th, which is the first position not to score.
But the good news story for me of this race is that at the minute, both those Alenco Lamborghinis are running, and they're not having any of the problems that they had in practice or in qualifying with transmissions.
That's right. There's the Corvette of Hazemans, that's running in 9th place. Behind him still is the Wendlinger Lamborghini, but it's a good distance behind. So with just under 2.5 minutes to go in the sunshine here at Portimao in the late afternoon, it's just gone 6 local time, and it looks very, very promising for Nissan to dominate things here.
Well, I don't know that Michael Krum is actually believing or dreaming that they're going to see a change of position between these two lead cars. Michael Krum would love to be in the car right now, and I'm sure if he thought there's an opportunity to race to the line, he would love to have the opportunity. But we're going to see a sort of 1, 2, and back 3 Nissan. Whether they come across the line together, slow down and come across the line together to really rub it in, or whether they just let them go as they are, well, they've got a minute and a half to go to find out.
That's right. We're right into the closing stages now. Lights ablaze on both cars. The shadows ever lengthening here, but Richard Westbrook and Peter Dumbreck do look set to take their first win as teammates, of course. Dumbreck might have won here last year, but that was when he was with Michael Krum. Driver changes as well as new drivers coming into the two Nissan teams, and it means that Nissan's first win of 2011 is going to come with a new driver lineup. I say that, look at Lucas Luhr getting ever closer to the back of Richard Westbrook's car. It might still change, you know.
Well, they've dropped their lap time by about 1/2 to 3/4 of a second a lap, and as Richard Westbrook slows down, then of course Lucas Luhr is almost forced as a consequence to do that. And whether they're just trying to set this up or whether this is a genuine eyeball to eyeball battle between the two team members, I'm sceptical, and I think this is going to be a 1-2 for the team rather than a battle between the two drivers, regardless of whatever the team wants.
Yeah, well, let's just have a look. Lucas Luhr getting ever so close up towards turn 12.
Well, I'm perplexed. I am perplexed.
Is this a show, or is it a genuine attempt to retake the lead here from Lucas Luhr? Richard Westbrook has led since just after the pit stops when he got past Lucas Luhr. There's a little bit of anxiety from Nigel Stepney into the last couple of corners now, though. Luhr ran a bit deep there, and Richard Westbrook should have this one sorted. He's just got the final turn to go. And out of the last corner comes Richard Westbrook. It is going to be a Nissan 1, 2, 3 at Portimao. Westbrook and Dumbreck take the victory. Lucas Luhr and Michael Krum finish in 2nd place. And we wait for the 3rd place car of Jamie Campbell-Walter to cross the line. He does so in 3rd. The car he shares with David Brabham. 4th will go to Stefan Mucker and Darren Turner in the Aston Martin. And 5th place, at last, a race finish for Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager. But there's Peter Dumbreck. He is delighted with victory here. Portimao is certainly one of his favourite tracks, because that is 2 years in a row now that Peter Dumbreck has won the qualifying race.
Well, he did what he had to do. He got the lead and dominated the race, handed the car over to Richard Westbrook. Not quite as good a pit stop as they had with the Lucas Luhr car, and that Dumbreck Westbrook lost the lead momentarily, but Richard Westbrook was certainly clear in his mind what he had to do, and he did it. Into turn 1 was made rather easy by Lucas Luhr in my view, but nevertheless that was the lead, and he never lost it to the checkered flag.
So job done for the day, and no scenes of elation there, but certainly happiness. There's another race to run. That's when the 25 points are on offer. You only get 8 points for winning that race. 8 valuable points, though, and it will make a difference because the championship leaders didn't score. Dusseldorp and Piccini and Hohenadel was 2nd and 3rd in the championship. They failed to score. So did Enger and Muller. So, in fact, Dumbreck and Westbrook, the first of the leaders, if you like, in the championship to score points. So their 8 points will put them on 32, and it immediately pops them back up into 3rd place overall, even though it's only 8 points to the victory. So it's made a big difference.
Sweet as a nut.
Sweet as a nut. They'll be delighted with that, and a good chance indeed of making it even better tomorrow if they can repeat that kind of performance. JR Motorsports, John, let's not forget that it's the first win for JR Motorsports, because Sumo Power took the win last year.
It was Sumo Power car last year.
Yeah, I mean, it is the same owner in James Rumsey, but nonetheless, he set up this double team, and, well, he's achieved a victory pretty early on.
And really, I mean, they may well have achieved it even earlier if we hadn't had those incidents in some of the first of the 2 rounds in Abu Dhabi and, of course, in Zolder. But they've now achieved their aspiration, and that is to get a block out on the podium. They would have loved the Brazilian car to be in 4th place or anywhere in the top 4. That was taken out in the early part of the race, so it ends up finishing in 8th place, and Enrique Bernoldi bringing that car home.
And that's exactly what James wanted when he went for this mega driver lineup, was that get the maximum points up front for winning, but get lots of cars in between your winning car and the other point scorers.
Absolutely. I mean, this is not a game, you know, a weekend where you go out and race for fun. This is a serious professional business, and of course Nissan themselves totally involved in the program, and they want success. They want to sell lots of Nissan GTRs.
And there, Lucas Luhr and Richard Westbrook just meeting each other, talking about what happened there when Westbrook went past, perhaps. Was that... I wonder if that's what they're talking about. Jamie Campbell-Walter in the mix too, of course.
Well, certainly the 2 drivers, 2 teammates will have difference of opinions about what should or should not have happened, or what took place, or what was the idea. But anyway, we see the Dumbrick Westbrook car winning this qualifying race.
Yeah, really, really strong performance from them. Richard Westbrook getting the crash helmet off. There's Peter Dumbrick to congratulate him. Lucas Luhr there on the right. He's had a lot of success in the States, hasn't he, John, over the years, in prototypes in particular.
Yeah, I mean, he was part of the Porsche Young Driver program from about, well, goodness knows how many years ago now. And an extremely accomplished, very professional driver. Drove for Roger Penske when he was running the Porsche Spider program in North America.
Yeah, won the LMP2 championship that year in 06.
And of course, very highly regarded by the captain himself, Roger Penske.
And then with Audi was the ALMS LMP1 champion in 2008 in the Audi R10. So, you know, he's driven some of the really top spec prototype cars. It's quite hard jumping out of those top prototype cars and being fast in a car like this with much, much less downforce. But he seems to have made the transition very happily.
Well, he went effectively from racing 911s into high downforce cars, and he's now, because they're not available to him, coming back out into a GT1 car.
Well, let's go and get some reaction. Haley is with them.
Richard, congratulations. It was getting quite hot out there towards the end, and you were involved in a little bit of a battle there with Lucas, but you took him and brought it home.
Yeah, it was, I mean, Peter did a great job, but he brought it in the lead, but unfortunately they jumped us on the pit stop. They did a really good pit stop, the 23 car. And I saw Lucas struggling the first few laps, and I thought, OK, it's now or never, so I went for it, and but then he came back at me. My car was going off at the end, and I didn't really have much else, to be honest with you, and it wasn't so comfortable, but just pleased to get a win with this man, and it's my first win in FIA, so in GT1, so I'm delighted.
Congratulations, Peter. How did you find your stint out there? It's certainly great for us to watch.
Yeah, I kind of didn't have too much pressure. I could see Michael quite close behind me, but I was kind of maintaining the gap. So it was a case of just kind of keeping calm, and I, you know, with my pit stop, I probably would have liked to stop one more lap earlier, but as it was, with Richard struggling towards the end anyway, I think we probably played the race absolutely perfect. So I hope we can do the same tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
Well, the key moment of that race was this one, John. As Richard Westbrook told us, he went for it.
Yes, but I mean, I'm surprised that if this was a race, as we expect, between the 2 cars or the 2 drivers, that Lucas Luhr would have made it a lot more difficult for Richard Westbrook to slot down the inside. It looked to me as if he allowed him if I'd been in that position and I was under threat even from a teammate, particularly if it was Niki Lauda, I would have made sure he wouldn't have got past me.
You'd have kept the middle of the road a little bit more. OK, well, let's go and see what they have to say for themselves. We're with the second place crew now of Krum and Luhr.
Congratulations, Lucas. You did have the lead at one point there. Can you tell us a little bit about when Richard took over you?
It was simple. I lost momentum coming out of the last corner due to understeering the car. The first couple of laps I was fighting like crazy, and he had a run on me and he dived into the inside. It was a good move by him, I have to say, but I had no chance to stand against it, and at the end I was quicker again, but our problem is, and we need to work on that for tomorrow, that we really struggle the first couple of laps. We don't get somehow the temperature into the front tire, and then when we get past that, then the car is good.
And Michael, how did you find your stint?
Yeah, it was good. It was just risky as always at the start. We don't seem to be able to start without an accident, so I saw Peter Cox on the inside, and I knew pits are gonna fly around, so I was ready to wait on the outside of the track, which I did, and I was luckily enough to gain one position through the accident, but it can happen the other way around as well sometimes. Great day for Nissan. It's a fantastic result. We are really, really happy, and I'm just glad to be back in the top 3, and I hope tomorrow we can get through the start without an accident. Let's see, and hopefully we can finish on the podium.
And what a great pit stop as well they were able to do.
Yeah, the team did a really fantastic job. We struggled the last couple of races, but today they really were great. They brought us into the lead, and that was just fantastic work from the whole team. So it was perfect.
Thank you.
So very satisfied Michael Krum and Lucas Luhr there, but very interesting to hear the views of Lucas and Richard. Meanwhile, in third place, John, a very impressive run too for the other car, the Sumo cars home. That was Jamie Campbell-Walter and David Brabham.
Yes, they did a solid job.
Well, I think we can actually hear from them, so let's go back down and join Haley down in pit lane.
Congratulations, Jamie. Did you see yourself finishing tonight at third?
I hoped. No, it's really good after the first 2 rounds that we've had, especially the last one, especially for the whole team, you know, really the Sumo Pad team, to have 2 cars out the first corner in the last race is a massive boost, not only for us but for the mechanics and the whole team. So great result. Would have liked to have been a bit quicker and stayed with the JRM boys, to be honest, but we'll have a little think about it overnight and see if we can get it 1 better tomorrow, or 2 better tomorrow.
And David, it's quite a roller coaster of a circuit, this, isn't it? Did you enjoy it?
I did, not having been here before. You know, I'd heard so much about it, and you come here and you go, now this is a proper racetrack. You know, a lot of the European circuits are fairly boring in comparison, to be honest. So yeah, it's great we're here, and you know, Jamie said it, you know, for the guys, the Sumo Power guys, it's been a hard slog. It's been a new team put together very late. We're on our 3rd engineer in 3 races. You know, Mark did a fantastic job trying to catch up, give us a car to get us on the podium. And you know, the JRM guys, you know, did a cracking job. So for Nissan in total, this has been a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
And it's only just the beginning. Still, we've got the championship race to go. Let's take a look at how they finished up then in the qualifying race here at Portimao. And it was indeed a 1-2-3 for Nissan. JR Motorsports taking their first victory. And indeed, first win for Richard Westbrook. He's gone so well in GT1, it's easy to forget he's not actually had a win before. Second place then for the Lucas Luhr Michael Krum car. And in third place, as we've just heard, Jamie Campbell-Walter and David Brabham. The Aston Martin of Mucker and Turner finished in 4th place, ahead of the Lamborghini of Pastorelli and Schwager, which at last scores a couple of points. And then the Ford of Jan Claret and Max Martin. Useful position for the championship race for them. 7th place for the championship leaders, unable to add to their tally. The 4th Nissan finished in 8th place after an incident at the first corner. The Corvette that ran well in the early stages dropped to 9th in the end, in the hands of Mike Hazemans and Nicky Katzberg. Behind them we had the Swiss Racing Lamborghini of Karl Wendlinger and Peter Cox, the Aston Martin of the Hexis racing team of Christian Hohenadel and Andrea Piccini, and then the other Swiss Racing Lamborghini, Max Nielsen and Jiri Janak, having a better run though this weekend than they have on the 2 previous occasions. Down in 13th place, though, the car that is currently 2nd in the points of Piccioni and Dusseldorf. That will be disappointing to them. They got involved in that early incident on the first lap. Nygaard and Ix were 14th in their Ford. Then we saw the other Corvette of Bobby and Rossi, but out of the race, unfortunately. Down at the bottom there, the Ford of Bastleinders and Mark Henrici, and also, of course, the Aston of Muller and Enger. Well, after a remarkable day for Nissan, we ought to go and talk to the boss of those 2 teams. Let's hear from James Rumsey.
Congratulations, James. What a result for Nissan and for the team.
Absolutely. It was a really good result for Nissan, Nismo, JRM and Sumo. We're all over the moon. The crews did an amazing pit stop. The drivers, both driver crews did a brilliant race. We're all really happy.
Can you introduce to this man, little man, who's with you?
This is our new team manager, Daniel. He was actually in Abu Dhabi when we had a good result, and he didn't come to Zolder. But he's come out today and brought us a good result, so he's not allowed to miss any more events.
So Dan, it looks like you're their lucky charm.
Yeah. I'd just like to say they did really well, and hopefully it'll come again.
Thank you guys, enjoy the celebrations.
Well, he's got a definite future as a team manager there, coming up with a good little quote himself.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to have to wait terribly long, probably another 24 hours, less than 24 hours, in fact, before we see the GT1 cars back on grid for their championship race.
Yeah, that's going to be lots to look forward to, and the Nissan boys will all be working out how they can try and steal a march over one another. But in terms of the championship, it is important because, as I say, it will have brought Dunbrack and Westbrook up to third. Let's just review that start once again, John.
Yeah, the Campbell Water car and David Brabham got swamped at the start, but it was really into turn 1 and then turn 2, well, not turn 2, turn 3 into 4, where once again we're seeing this contact which seems to be almost inevitable.
Peter Cox in the Lamborghini on the inside, and he just tags there the car of Ricardo Zonta, doesn't he?
Yes, and that spins him round, and of course, worst possible thing to happen. First turn, you get knocked out of the race, you're virtually back to zero. And again, further contact, watching one of the Aston getting right up in the air, almost tipping over. And that was the
Alex Muller car.
Yes.
Yeah. And round went Wendlinger. So in a way, Wendlinger did well in this race to recover after that earlier incident. This was some of the onboard footage. This was on the Corvette. And he tried to go, down the outside there. That was always likely to end in tears, because where was the Aston Martin going to go? And then, of course, they had to do a big avoiding act here. They all bunched up. He hit a car, but that was because it was on the brakes trying to avoid this lot.
You know, the fun fairs at Butler's now don't even allow the Dodgem cars to do this sort of thing.
No, I heard that the other day. They're not allowed to hit each other anymore.
Exactly.
It's called Dodgem.
Amazing. Health and safety.
Would you believe it? So, once again, Portimao's delivered an entertaining race in the GT1 World Championship, and the all-British lineup in that number 22 car have emerged victorious, but the German guys were not far behind, and at one stage it looked as though they were going to take it.
Yeah, and I think it's quite interesting that Lucas Luhr said that we were much stronger at the end, and Richard Westbrook saying I was struggling at the end, and it was clear that Lucas Luhr had more speed in the last 3 or so laps, and we weren't sure whether that was a bit of showboating or whether that was a genuine situation. But Richard was delighted that the flag came out when it did. He didn't want to have to do another couple of laps, because maybe he would have had a challenge from Lucas Luhr in what was then the second place in Nissan.
Yeah, but they timed it to perfection. As Peter Dunbrack said, that's the way you'd always want it. The car fast in the middle part of the race and then maybe just tailing off towards the end. So let's take a look back over the highlights of today's event. And, well, everybody lined up on the grid in pretty much as they'd qualified. But, of course, we did see some quick cars starting at the back, particularly the Lamborghini of Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager. This incident took out the Brazilian Nissan for a while. It did recover, but it was always going to be a struggle from there. And then this incident particularly did definitely take out the Aston of Alex Muller and Thomas Engren. It's a shame that we lost a couple of cars so early on.
Yeah, I mean, turn 4, I mean, it should be pretty well sorted out, but again, these drivers somehow or other managed to find themselves 3 cars into one. Isn't going to go. There's the damage to the right front, and a competitive car out of the race, and didn't get to see Thomas Enger run that car, and a little bit of concern as we look into the Aston Martin pit.
This was Darren Turner making a good move on the Corvette and slid down the inside, and Katie was very happy about that. They did get to finish in 4th, of course, in the end.
Yeah, this was the pass on coming up to turn 14. There was the moment for Baz Leinders, had a big old spin, probably about a 720, I think, by the time he got to the finish of it.
Almost incidents in the pit lane, but I have to say, actually, well done to all the drivers and teams today, because although it was close, they actually judged it pretty well.
Well, there was no incident, and whether that's a good result, yes, it is a good result, but it is very marginal in the case of some of those calls. There was the battle for the lead. Lucas Luhr managed to get ahead of Richard Westbrook as Westbrook came out of the pits. As we watched the Lamborghini big lock-up, but now Westbrook relatively easily. He did get a better run off turn 16. Lucas Luhr acknowledged that, but it was a soft pass, in my opinion.
Well, Lucas Luhr perhaps wasn't going to defend as hard as he would have done if it had been somebody else. He saw Westbrook had the momentum, and sure enough, Westbrook went ahead and took the lead. There was some good racing further back as well, as Nicky Pastorelli moved that Lambo up, and Carl Wendlinger took full advantage when his teammate Max Nielsen made a little slip up towards the end of the race as well. Up front, Westbrook was still leading. He was under pressure, though, in those closing stages from his teammate, Lucas Luhr. But ultimately, there was to be no change. We had a Nissan 1, 2, 3. Westbrook ahead of Luhr and Jamie Campbell-Walter. There'll be more of the same to come from Portimao. I hope you can join us again for the championship race.